Well, there's never a dull moment when you live in America, apparently. So, over the weekend, we have people that are breaking into churches, and there's some serious consequences that are going to come from that and can come from that kind of action. So, that needs to be cut back very, very quickly. Also, Sweden seems to be coming to their senses about certain things when it comes to immigration. And I don't know why, but judges are just stupid. So there are so many judges that are just absolutely stupid. And we're gonna have to break it down. We're gonna break it down. I have a lot of information on the church. I think it'll be interesting to get into because there is a lot of things that are being said by people about church and by people about the Constitution and what the Constitution gives you permission to do that don't seem to know anything. They don't seem to know anything. And this is becoming to be a trend, guys. This is becoming to be a trend where people think they know the Bible and misuse it. And people think they know the laws of the land and misuse it. And you know, the biggest person out there to ever misuse the Bible was Satan. So maybe we're just dealing with Satan. That's pretty much what is happening here. So welcome to the ripple effect. So to start off with, I actually wanted to point out that Sweden has finally decided to have some intelligence. They finally decided to wake up to some of the problems that they're dealing with. And apparently now, if you are an immigrant into Sweden on an asylum visa, and you decide that it's time to go back to where you were from for a nice holiday or vacation, you cannot do that and still keep your asylum claim. Meaning if you're from Somalia, and I'm going to use that because everyone knows what Somalia looks like nowadays. If you're from Somalia, you go to Sweden for asylum saying, we can't live in Somalia anymore, it's too unsafe. And then you decide, you know what? We haven't been to Somalia in some time. Let's go back and vacation there. And you take off to vacation in Somalia. Obviously, it's good enough for you to go on vacation in. It's probably good enough for you to live in it. So they'll revoke your asylum claim. Now, something interesting that tied into this too is I didn't know this until I saw my wife said, and then I looked into it. Apparently, this is a very big thing with Middle Easterners or Islamists as well, where what they do is they claim asylum, they go to these countries because they want to live in the countries, they want to enjoy the benefits of those countries, and their daughters are raised in this world where they get all these freedoms and all these enjoyments and all these things around them until they turn like 16, and then they take them back and sell them off to family in these countries during these, quote, vacations, and then sell them into servitude in the life that Islam brings to them in those countries. I had no idea until she told me. I watched some stuff on it and looked into it. It's quite sad and quite terrifying, in fact, that you grow up with all the freedoms and understandings of what life should be like in some ways. I mean, some people let things go too far, but some ways out here, and then you throw them back into such a horrible situation like forced marriage and basically being sold to different people. And there's actually quite a few stories that have come out. I think even Michael Knowles had a story of Michael and it was about a woman that was being sold back to someone in Iran. But crazy, crazy stuff. Now, going to judges. Judges have lost their minds. I mean, honestly, and I've said this, there needs to be justice to the judges. Okay? If you're a judge and you do something that is make a decision that is so blatantly illegal or doesn't make sense with the laws of the land, you should be disbarred, right? Remove them. So if you make a decision that makes totally no sense, is totally wrong and overturned, there should be like a ratio. Is there like a way to check someone's score and get them fired? If you went to a barista at a Starbucks, and every time you saw that person, it's like a 50-50 shot for them to get your coffee right, would you go back? No, you wouldn't go back. You'd say, like, I'm tired of getting this garbage where I can't get what I want. Why would I go back? Why is it judges in America are like this? They're absolutely stupid. So here's the thing. That's from Fox, and it says, judge rules feds in Minneapolis can't detain or tear gas peaceful protesters. So he had passed a judgment or whatever they do. They basically legislate from the bench. And he said that feds can't detain or tear gas peaceful protesters. Now, I got news for you. The feds aren't. Okay. I don't know who needs to hear that, but the feds aren't tear gassing and detaining peaceful protesters. And I mentioned this before. You're peaceful until your foot hits the pavement. Okay. So you're standing along the side there. You're not blocking traffic. You're not obstructing anything, and you're holding up your sign. That's peaceful. Okay. The moment you walk out into traffic or block people, even interfere with people, and like that one guy that had the horn and was blowing it in someone's ear, and then he got punched in the face for it. Right. Good at that, man. Then you're no longer peaceful. And you have every right to be detained and tear gassed, and probably should be. Okay? Enough of this. Wrap it up. Wrap it up, guys. There's two options here. Unfortunately, a lot of the ICE action is not very popular anymore. This is why I called it out before with the lady. I said, ICE, be smart about it. And one of the things I saw too was apparently ICE, and again, I'm going to get back to this about why I do support ICE, but ICE apparently went into a Mexican restaurant, and this is proven, went into a Mexican restaurant, had lunch, and then arrested everyone that was working there because they apparently were illegals. So I don't know if they went in intending to do that. I talked with a military friend of mine, and he said that's a tactic that's used overseas a lot, but I don't care. I don't care. ICE, for doing that, you're stupid. For doing that, you're stupid. Why am I saying that? For those of you that are going to think I'm coming out here against ICE and hate ICE, I don't hate ICE. I want to support ICE. I want to protect ICE. I want to defend ICE. I want them to do their job as they should, as every federal agent should, as every police officer should. But the Democrats are already gearing up to win the midterms, and they're using all of this as examples of why they will win the midterms. And CBS just came out with a bunch of surveys showing that the American people does not like how you're doing your job. Not the job that you're doing, because if you ask them about illegal immigration and dealing with it, they're very positive about taking that down, but that's not the point. It's how you go about doing it. Don't be stupid about how you approach this kind of thing. If you're going to take out a restaurant for having illegal aliens, don't eat there first. I'm talking about, we've had thousands of years, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, we have thousands of years of tradition about using someone's hospitality or enjoying someone's hospitality and the obligations that come with it. You enjoyed their hospitality and then you arrested them. Not the smartest move, guys. Not the smartest move. And this is so horrible because it just shows that people don't have intelligence. Like, whose boneheaded decision was that? All right? Get out there and arrest the people. And statistically speaking, they are arresting criminal aliens, meaning aliens that have committed other crimes other than just breaking into our country. So focus on that. Look at that. Post about that. And they are. Sometimes they are doing that. And I praise them for doing that. I like those videos. It's good. But don't do stupid stuff, because that's where we lose. Now, a spot where the left has lost, and I did want to get into this, but anti-ICE protesters stormed a church. And this is what the crux is. And so this is what I was talking about, the face. And I said, in your face is going to be the title. So it seems like a lot of these people needed, as the joke was from when I was, you're going to hate me. My wife would hate me if she knew this. They had a joke back in, early 2000s where they would say something about face them up table, and you smack someone, upside the table with their face. They kind of need that to be jogged in their brains a little bit because they're not very smart. So apparently anti-ICE protesters stormed a Sunday service at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Don Lemon was definitely heavily involved in this. And there's a lot of crucial problems here. One, it shows that this church doesn't truly understand, because they're so social nowadays. They don't understand the Bible and they don't understand the laws. So a church is a private property. Okay. It's very much private property. Private property, public place during the times of service so that people can come in and worship, but it is private property. You have every right to tell someone to leave your property as a church. And if you tell someone to leave your property, it's criminal trespass if they stay. So part of this is Don Lemon entered in and he was trying to be like, I'm just here to witness this. I'm just here to show what's going on. And they were yelling and they were interrupting. And this is the terrifying part. And this is the part that I want you to understand. You go into a church, that's an act of terrorism. If you don't think it's an act of terrorism, look on the terrified looks of those mothers who are trying to usher their children out as all these people come in with their video cameras and they're wanting to video everything. ICE out, anti-ICE, ICE, don't shoot, or hands up, don't shoot, and all this stupid, crappy garbage that they're saying. I do not have words for what if I let my human side go, what I would want done to someone who does that to a church. There's not words to contain how I feel about that. Because you come terrorize someone like that, you deserve some of the worst penalties there is possible. Because here are these children, and parents especially nowadays are very careful about what they post online about their children. And here you are coming in and filming them. Like there's some kind of exhibit for you to film. And these poor mothers and fathers trying to get their families out of there, and they scattering to get out of there because in their place of worship, in their place where they're worshiping God, you came to be make a mockery out of it. And instead you made a mockery and a fool out of yourself. And this is where they're going to come face to face with something. And that's called the FACE Act. Okay? It dramatically increases the penalties against people that do things against churches. Now, a lot of times this is used against people that pray outside of, Planned Parenthoods and stuff. But we are failing, and no one of the official status listens to this. But FBI, DHS, and all the other ones out there, you are a failure if Don Lemon and the rest of these pieces of trash are not in jail. If they're not in jail for breaking those laws and criminal trespass, you're a failure. And you might as well lose your job. Okay? Because especially Don Lemon, who stuck around to film after the pastor himself told him to leave. Told him to leave. So he told him he was unwelcome and he needed to leave. At that point, it's criminal. And the part that I want to point out is, people all the time, and you can tell here they get confused about what it means to have the right to protest. So the right to protest and all of that isn't a right to protest against other people. It's a right to protest against government and to petition government. So when you go after people like that, that's terrorism and should be treated as such. And I want you to draw a difference between those that are satanic and those that are Christian. Those same very people that are in this church could easily be outside of a Planned Parenthood that's murdering babies inside. Except if they were, I guarantee you to be trying to share this word with them while praying for those people and staying out of the way, not interrupting them, but offering something. But those people came in to terrorize. Because when you don't have an argument and they don't have an argument, all you have left is anger. And they need to have the book thrown at them. In fact, I thought this was funny. Don Lemon said, "This is what the First Amendment is about, the freedom to protest." And he said some other words there. And he said, quote, "Protests are not comfortable," when asked if he was okay with children being harassed. Protests are not comfortable. So I want you to think of about that out there. All of you that are in America, when the lefties come for you and they disagree with you, your children are not safe. Nothing about you is safe. They'll come after everything. Whereas even if the Republicans disagree with you, they don't mess with your children. They try to help your children, actually. That's the vast, major difference between us. Please spread this news of my channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and get it out there. Share it out there. The more people that hear it, the better, and we can get to more and more people listening, and more people aware of what's going on and how it affects our country, Christian-wise, Bible-wise, and politically. So we can make an effect. We can make a ripple effect everywhere to make a difference. And if you're not making a difference in your community, ask yourself why. Why are you not? Make a small difference, and it has a ripple everywhere. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.